95% of the people watching this video believe they know themselves. They believe they understand why they get angry, why they procrastinate, and what they truly want from life. But according to Harvard psychologists, the truth is far more chilling. Only about 10 to 15% of people are actually self-aware. That means there is an 85% chance that you are living with a stranger. That stranger is you. You think you are the driver of your life, but in reality, you are just a passenger in a vehicle controlled by subconscious programs you didn't even write. This lack of self-awareness is the silent killer of dreams. It's the reason you keep dating the same type of toxic person, the reason you sabotage your own success, and the reason you feel like a fraud. Today, we are tearing down the facade. We are going to explore the psychology of the self, the trap of the ego, and the rare skill of seeing yourself as you truly are. In psychology, there is a phenomenon known as the better-than-average effect. Most people believe they are more honest, more intelligent, and more self-aware than the average person. Logically, this is impossible. This is the first barrier to self-awareness, the ego shield. Your brain is designed to protect your self-image at all costs. It acts like a high-priced lawyer, defending every mistake you make. When you fail, your brain points outward. It was the economy, it was the boss, it was bad luck. But when you succeed, your brain points inward. It was my talent, my genius. True self-awareness begins with the brutal realization that you are an unreliable narrator of your own life. You have to stop believing your own excuses. Think about it. How many times have you told yourself you'll start tomorrow, knowing deep down you won't? We lie to ourselves more than we lie to anyone else. You have to start looking at your life not as a participant, but as a cold, objective scientist observing a subject. Let's talk about the Johari window. This is a psychological model that divides your personality into 4 quadrants. First, there is the open self, what you and others both know. Second, the hidden self, what you know but hide from others. But the third quadrant is the most dangerous, the blind spot. This is what others see in you that you are completely blind to. Maybe it's your arrogance, your insecurity, or the way you shut down when challenged. Without external feedback, you are flying blind. You are making mistakes that everyone can see except you. This is why most people stay mediocre. They refuse to look into the mirror that others hold up for them. When we feel stuck, we usually ask ourselves, why? Why am I so unhappy? Why did I fail? Why can't I stay motivated? Psychology shows that asking why is actually a trap. When you ask why, your brain doesn't search for the truth. It searches for an answer that sounds plausible and keeps your ego intact. You'll say, I'm unhappy because my job is boring. But that's a surface-level lie. Highly self-aware. People don't ask why, they ask what. Instead of, why am I so stressed? They ask, what are the specific situations that trigger this feeling? Why leads to stories and victimization? What leads to data and solutions? If you want to go deeper, use the 5 whys technique. Ask yourself why you want something, then ask why to that answer and repeat it 5 times. By the 5th why, you will usually find a raw, uncomfortable truth that you've been hiding from yourself. There are 2 types of self-awareness. Internal self-awareness is how clearly you see your own values and emotions. External self-awareness is understanding how others see you. The 1%, the leaders, the visionaries, balance both. They have the internal strength to stay true to themselves and the external wisdom to know how they are impacting the room. Think of a CEO who thinks he is assertive, but his employees see him as a bully. That gap between perception and reality is where empires crumble. Carl Jung, the legendary psychologist, spoke about the shadow. This is the part of your personality that you hide from the world and from yourself. It's your greed, your anger, and your envy. Lack of self-awareness is simply the refusal to look at your shadow. But whatever you don't acknowledge controls you. If you don't acknowledge your need for validation, you will spend your life as a slave to other people's opinions. Mastery isn't about being perfect. It's about being honest about your imperfections. Self-awareness is a painful process. It requires you to kill the version of yourself that you've fallen in love with. It requires you to admit that you are often the villain in your own story. It requires you to sit in the silence and listen to the thoughts you usually drown out with social media and noise. But on the other side of that pain is total freedom. When you are self-aware, you are no longer a puppet of your triggers. You stop reacting and start choosing. You become the architect of your destiny because you finally understand the material you are working with. Don't wait for a crisis to wake you up. Don't wait for your life to fall apart before you decide to look at yourself. Start observing your thoughts today. Start asking what instead of why. Meet the stranger in the mirror, because the greatest journey you will ever take is the inches between your eyes and your soul. If you're ready to take that journey, stay tuned, because we are just scratching the surface. To understand the true power of self-awareness, we have to look at the greats. Take Socrates, the father of Western philosophy. His entire life's work was built on one sentence: the unexamined life is not worth living. He didn't say it was less worth living. He said it wasn't worth it at all. Why? Because without self-awareness, you are just a sophisticated animal reacting to hunger, fear, and ego. You aren't living, you are being lived by your instincts. But let's get scientific for a moment. Why is this so hard? It's because of your brain's architecture. Your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for logic and self-reflection, is constantly at war with your amygdala, the primitive part of your brain that lives in fear. When someone criticizes you, your amygdala screams attack. It treats a hit to your ego like a physical threat to your life. This is why you get defensive. This is why you shut down. Self-awareness is the process of training your logic to override your primal fear. It's the ability to feel the sting of a truth and sit with it instead of running away. Think about the world's most successful leaders. Steve Jobs was famously fired from his own company, Apple. In that moment of failure, he could have blamed everyone else. But instead, he went through a period of intense self-reflection. He realized his own rough edges, his own ego-driven mistakes. That period of self-awareness allowed him to return to Apple and create the most valuable company in the world. He didn't just change his strategy, he changed himself. So, how do you actually build this? It's not about meditation in a cave. It starts with the audit. For the next 24 hours, I want you to carry a notebook or use the Notes app on your phone. Every time you feel a strong emotion, anger, jealousy, or even extreme excitement, write down exactly what triggered it. Don't judge it, just record it. You will start to see patterns. You'll realize that you aren't actually mad at your friend. You're frustrated because they reminded you of a failure you've been hiding. Another powerful tool is the reflected best self exercise. Ask 5 people you trust to tell you one thing you're great at and one thing you're terrible at. This is terrifying. Your ego will want to fight back, but the information you get in those answers is pure gold. It's the only way to clear the fog in your blind spot quadrant of the Johari window we discussed earlier. Remember, self-awareness is like a muscle. At first, it's weak. It hurts to use it. You'll find things about yourself that you absolutely hate. You'll realize you've been the toxic one in many of your past relationships. You'll realize you've been lazy when you thought you were just unlucky. But this pain is the price of admission to the 1%. The world is designed to keep you distracted. Social media, endless entertainment, and constant noise are all tools that help you avoid looking at yourself. Because a person who is not self-aware is easy to control. They are easy to sell to. They are easy to manipulate. But a person who knows their own soul is dangerous to the status quo. They cannot be tempted by things they don't need, and they cannot be broken by opinions that don't matter. This is the path of the master. It's lonely, it's brutal, but it's the only path that leads to true power. You've spent your whole life trying to understand the world, trying to master your career, trying to understand others. Now it's time to turn the camera around. It's time to master the most complex, mysterious, and powerful force in your universe, yourself.